Hi, Gabe. How are you today?
Hey, how's it going, Misty?
Good,
Thanks
good.
for.
So I'm here with Gabe from Solar Bear, and we'll talk a little bit today about the pros and cons of having solar. So, Gabe, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and tell us a little bit about Solar Bear.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Gabe. Gabriel Pimentel, actually. I'm
Yeah.
a regional manager. I'm a regional manager for Solar Bear LLC. We're based out of St. Pete, Florida. Company has been in business for about 8 years. We've been focused on local residential installs since we started as an inception of the company, and we just recently expanded to South Carolina and Texas.
I heard that. Congratulations.
Yeah. We are also a roofing company in-house, as well as we do spray foam insulation. So a lot of things that we do in-house with overall efficiency. And when it comes to the overall array of the projects, when it comes to, roofing, solar, insulation, it all goes hand in hand. We've been doing that as a company for a long time. And I've been in the business myself about 3-4 years almost.
hmm Yeah, that's one thing that I think it's important for people to know because you're not subbing out any of the work, it's all in-house.
Correct. Yeah, and that's huge because we don't have to subcontract any of the work. Our clients are able to get roofs, insulation, solar, all the installs. Everything is done by a Solar Bear W-2 employee. So it's someone that's on our licensing, that they're protected, and they don't have to go from one contractor to the other. In this industry for sure.
Right. That's super important for people to know. So, so talking about the pros and cons of solar. So let's kind of start with, we were recently just talking about how the rates have gone up and everybody is feeling that, no matter what power company that you're with, some are obviously increasing their rates, higher and more so than others. So, what can we expect about that? And that's going to kind of lead us into, the pros and cons of having solar, what to expect.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing it like crazy right now. So, at this moment, we're seeing that the rate increases in the state of Florida this past year, most of the electric companies went up over 10% this year alone. Uh, I'm based out of Orlando, so Duke went up this year. I believe it was about an 18% increase. OUC had a 10% increase in October. FPL had a 20% increase, which I know you were aware of because that's your electric company. Tico had over a 10% increase, and pretty much every major electric company in the state of Florida has had an electric bill increase. What we did see now is that for this upcoming year in 2023, we saw the rates get announced that they were going to go up again, all over 10%. The biggest one was actually FPL. FPL said that they were going to have about a 25% increase going from 2023 to 2024. And this is the most alarming increase that I've ever heard was a 65% increase for 2025.
That's crazy.
That's astronomical. I've yet to hear about that, but we can link the article if you'd like. I sent you the article actually.
Yeah, that would be great. So one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to talk about this is I kind of stumbled upon this on an advertisement is the solar tax credit. So
Yep.
what can people, let's give them a little bit of information about what that involves.
Yeah, by going solar, the customer, the resident of their primary house, what they're able to do is actually claim a federal solar tax credit. They apply for it using a Form 5695, whether you do it with your TurboTax or whether you do it with your financial advisor or a CPA. They'll know exactly how to go ahead and do this. As long as you pay income taxes, right, you'll have a tax credit for up to 30% of the whole job. It's always advisable that you confirm with your CPA or with your tax specialist to ensure that you do indeed pay income taxes. But that means if you're a W-2 employee, regardless of if you pay or you get a refund at the end of the year, you still pay into what's called federal income tax withheld. So as long as you're paying Uncle Sam any dollars in income tax credit, you will have a dollar for dollar tax credit until you fulfill the 30% of that job.
Okay, that's interesting. So get with whoever does your taxes.
Exactly. And so like if you're retired, depending on if you pay income taxes or not, disability, you don't pay income taxes. There are cases where people don't qualify for the income tax credit. So
Mhm.
it's always best to just verify with your tax specialist, and always refer back because you want to make sure that whether or not you're eligible for that. But with the programs that we have and with the rising cost of electricity, even those without a tax credit, it's still better than staying with the electric company and being subject to their rising rates. It just, the math always works out almost typically.
Right. That seems pretty understandable, especially with the increases that you're talking about. So tell us, how does solar work when you've got that installed, and do you still pay anything to the power company at all, their service fees, or what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so in the state of Florida, we have something that's called net metering. So the electric companies allow you to net meter with them in terms of how to manage the system. And so what we're able to do is we're able to install your system, connect it to the grid, and instead of needing what's called battery storage or energy storage, where the overproduction of your system would be stored into a battery, right? Which
Hmm.
would make the cost of the job much more expensive because batteries are not a cheap product, right? What you're doing is you're sending that excess energy back to the grid. And so when you receive an electric bill from Duke, FPL, OUC, you'll see energy kilowatt hours received, and they store it for you in an electrical bank where they then will use those credits in the months that you typically use more energy, so like summer, or any months that you're using more energy than typical, you'll pull from those credits, and then you'll be able to offset the energy for the entire year. Now, what we do is we take a look at the energy that you used in the previous year. So as long as you continue to use that same amount of energy, as you continue to live in your home, you'll be covered 100%. But if you use more energy than what we accounted for, or if you haven't lived there for a whole year, there is a possibility that you might use a little bit more, a little bit
Hmm.
less. But at the end of the day, we guarantee the amount of kilowatt hours that you're going to be producing throughout the entire year. And so we always back that up with a 30-year warranty on the production, as well as 25-year warranty on all of the products. So our clients are super happy, and we do an audit at the end of the year to compare it. And most of the time, almost 99% of the time, our systems do overproduce as compared to what we put in writing. So that's a great part about everything. Just got to make sure a couple things: your location, is there shading, things like that. Almost all homes in Florida are going to be eligible, but if you have too much shade,
That's a
depending
good
on
point.
how the slopes of your roof are, it's always best to get a consultation to ensure that solar makes sense for you and your property. And that's what our goal is, to just see if we can provide a solution for our clients.
Okay. So if for somebody that's a good point. Someone does have shade, like, is there a certain percentage of, does it have to have X amount of direct sunlight per, each day or something like that?
So the formula is that we account for just a minimum of 5 hours, or actually 4.86 hours of sunlight a day.
Okay.
Most homes in Florida are going to get a lot more, so that's why we see
Mhm.
an overproduction. But we also have to take into account cloudy days, hurricane days,
Right.
times when it's cloudy, and things like that. So at the end of the year, what we're looking at is the scope of an entire year. We're accounting for the hours of sun that you're going to be seeing on that roof.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
And
So,
and the direction of the roof is big too. So like, ideally a south facing slope is going to be much better producing than a north facing slope. East and west is perfectly fine too.
right. Okay. All good information. That makes sense. Um, so what about solar and insurance companies? If you've got solar and you have some sort of roof claim, and how does that type of thing work?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, when it comes to insurance, as long as you don't have what's a tier two system in the state of Florida. Tier two is any system over 11.7 kilowatt hours, kilowatts. If the system's bigger than that, then it's going to be what's considered a tier two. A tier two system in the state of Florida will require by the electric company for you to have a $1 million of personal liability insurance on the property in order to interconnect with the system. Anything under that, a tier one system, there is no necessary liability insurance or any extended insurance that's needed. However, it is best to always notify your insurance company, not because they can tell you no, but because you just want to make sure that, you know, as a homeowner, I'm sure you want to feel comfortable. Some insurance companies might ask you to just raise the dwelling policy, the dwelling for the policy by the cost of
Gotcha.
the system, and we're talking about dollars towards your annual coverage. So it usually doesn't make a big difference. We've proudly partnered with a couple of different homeowners insurance agents that have helped to educate me and my team on the processes and be able to understand what we're looking at there. And even if you need a tier two liability insurance,
Mhm.
if you go ahead and you add that to your policy from inception, we're talking about $8 to $10 per $100,000 of liability added on a typical insurance policy. So make sure that you're getting, you know, the proper quotes, you're getting a proper insurance agent, you're being underwritten correctly when you're asking for these things.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. So, what about when people go to resell their home if they've got a balance on their solar system? How does that work?
Yeah, so
Is
there's a
it
couple different ways that
transferable
you can do
or?
this. Yeah, so nowadays with most of the lenders, right? Now, depending on if you have a lease or if you have a actual loan, most of the loans are going to be owned by the client, and
Okay.
then they typically don't have a lien on the house. In the past, you had leases for the products, and what they were called was PPA leases. And these products did have a lien on the home. And even if you sold the home, you were still paying the lease on the property or on the equipment.
Mhm.
When it comes to the way that it works now, there is no lien on the property. There is no lien on anything except on the panels themselves with most of our typical lenders. So it's always good to verify with the lender that you're choosing and everything like that. If you were to sell the home, the loan is fully transferable as long as it's agreed upon at the sale of the home, and the buyer can go ahead and assume the payments, or the seller can go ahead and pay off the system right at the sale of the
Mhm.
home,
Mhm.
which I believe in Florida, in Orlando specifically, we have about a 4.8% increase in the property's value once solar is installed. That's the average amount. In addition to the tax credit, so they can go ahead and pay it off at the sale of the home, increase the value, the sale price on the home because you do have solar on it. Actually, I'm personally actually looking at buying a second house right now with my brother-in-law who's a broker, and he showed me how the property did go up with the add-on of solar
Mhm.
for a couple of his properties, and we were looking at a couple properties as well. So when it comes to that, that is definitely one thing. But yeah, not even these solar loans nowadays don't even have a UCC 1 filing lien on the home. It's strictly on the panels themselves.
Okay, so they would have to go to that provider and get qualified with them to assume or take over any outstanding balance if they decided to do it that way. I know in resales of properties, we come up and I don't know, and I don't remember specifically if they were leases or if they were just, a straight out up, loan like you're talking about, but it is something that comes up occasionally in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's a lot of realtors out there that aren't as open-minded as yourself to go out and get the information and educate themselves on what's going on. Because in the past, yes, these leases definitely made it harder for clients to be able to sell the home because the lien was on the property themselves,
Right.
and they couldn't sell it out as well as leases. The install company actually takes the tax credit. So there's a lot of things on there because you're not even able to keep the equipment. In this case, the equipment is
Right.
yours. It's part of the property. It is the homeowner's um, property itself. I mean, you own it, and you're getting the tax credit as well as ability to be on a non-lien loan and be able to choose if you sell the property, whether to pass on the monthly payment or just pay off the loan and move on to the next property with the
Mhm.
value of the home having gone up.
Right, right. Well, I'm sure with the increases that you're talking about, we're going to see more and more people getting solar. I know I live in a new community and there's there's people getting solar. It seems like, every other month or something. And, we're
Yeah.
all just experiencing the same thing. And that doesn't seem like it's going to change for the better.
No, we've seen if you take a look at your electric bill and you see the cost of utilities, you'll see that it's gone up at least the cost of inflation. So at 4%, and if you were to plug in the cost of electricity and a 4% interest calculator, we're talking about significant amount of cost over the next 25, 30 years, which is the
Mhm.
typical, which is the warranty period for our systems. I mean, it's pretty eye-opening. It's something that it's definitely recommended to look into to see if it makes sense for you and your property. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why homeowners bought their homes, right? It's because they didn't want to
Right.
pay rent anymore. And renting the electricity right now is is what's causing a lot of homeowners not to be able to, maybe have that Friday dinner. That rising cost of energy for a lot of people can be a big deal. I mean, if we're talking about up to a 65% increase for our FPL clients, we're talking about homeowners not being able to go out to eat for dinner or maybe having a change in their structural balance. I mean, how many homeowners out there are seeing 65% increases in pay?
Right. Exactly. Excellent point.
Even the,
Yeah.
yeah, even the 10% increases that we're seeing across the board now are huge. So it is something to consider. It's one way for you to go ahead and say yes to solar and see if it makes sense for you. The governor himself, when he went to veto the net metering bill this past year, he stated that with the cost of rising gas and groceries, that Florida homeowners should have the ability to choose whether they produce or not their power. So he vetoed the net metering bill, which would have ended net metering in Florida over the next couple of years. So it's definitely got a lot of positives. It's something to definitely look into, and I'd love to help out any of your clients or anyone that would like to see if it makes sense for them. Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. So a lot of great information. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be having a conversation about this again, like you said, with the increases. I know myself, I think my power bill's gone up at least $40 a month than when I first moved in. And like I said, I have a brand new house. So a lot of people are going to be looking into doing this with the inflation going on. So if we want to get a hold of you, I can put your information in the post, and
Yeah.
any and all ways to get in touch with you. Somebody wants a consultation.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a Calendly link which I can go ahead and send to you, and you can put in the post, and they can schedule a consultation with me. I have a personal Instagram social media page, Go Solar with Gabe, and
Okay.
anything that they want that they have questions about, or if they need a consultation, or just seeing if it even makes sense for you or for a family member, we're just here to help.
Absolutely. Well, we'll share those links with the video. Thanks so much, Gabe, for your time and all the information. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Misty. I look forward to doing it again.
Likewise.
Bye bye.